Hey there, and welcome to part of my SSS using the same piece, no gadgets. We're starting with Toron Mine because that's the current one for the week, and let's get right into it. To explain the setup, very standard. This is just what I prefer. We're only going to be using a handful of classes anyway, and the main reason for Medic B is especially if you get like a Lancet in the run, it's quite useful for just being able to immediately revive somebody that dies on accident, whatever it may be. But Medic is not a class that we're naturally taking. So it's there to panic, revive somebody if you do lose a unit that really doesn't want to die, wants to stay on the field. Otherwise, you're not going to be using medics. First off, Saga, really good for early physical rushes because of her talent, her passive to heal over time. We're running first for cycling, and we will be picking up as they come up, if they do come up. That's the ideal. 2 snipers, 2 casters to start, so Aya and Golden Glow are our main DPS for the run, and will continue to do so. And then we have Black Knight for caster, or basically high ground buffing, and Justice Knight for high ground buffing, and same with Exu. Exu is able to hold early lanes by herself, so she's pretty ideal. Justice Knight can be useful for flexing. Let's say you have a supporter down, you can always drop Justice down, keep whatever buff is on that tile, while adding a sniper buff, and being able to make use of that extra deploy slot somewhere else if needed. For example, if you'd have a Ling down, you might want to be able to free up a deploy slot to put a dragon down, etc. Gladia is just there to be able to replace either low or high ground and cycle that unit back. And otherwise, everything should be self-explanatory, and let's jump right into it. Map 1 is going to be very straightforward. We're just trying to get Golden Glow down, buffed. You generally don't have to start with Mudrock. And how you're going to play this is you're going to wait, instead of assigning operators, try and wait until you've cycled all of them already. So I'm going to be pressing this, clearing out my lane, and cycling both operators that I want to cycle. I have enough, so now I got Black Knight, so I stop assigning, place Black Knight, recycle her, and then I continue pulling. I got a Saga. I do want to place Saga down, so let's go ahead and do that, and then I keep time. Got another one I want to cycle, and you continue until you hit a unit that you want to use for a buff, and then you continue this process. And this is going to be the basic setup for every single map. And now we finished our Golden Glow. So now I can ignore the sniper tags. And then we have our last. Now we just need to get Aya back. This could have been an opportunity to rotate Aya with Gladia, but it's not really a big deal. We're on map 1 anyway. Once you've basically finished your team, you can always swap into Mudrock. Technically, like, realistically, you don't need Aya. You can just let Golden Glow clear everything, but just for illustration purposes. Your rough idea for every single map is going to be something of this sort. Obviously, for every single tower, you're going to adjust the team based on the boss or some other factors. You'll be aiming to pick up certain classes over others depending on which tower you're in. But for Toron Mine, our main goal is to just buff Golden Glow and Aya. Toron Mine is a little bit more ground-oriented than some of the other maps, so we'll have to take that into consideration. Having more Vanguard vouchers helps a lot. I've been playing a lot of IS-3, so I call them vouchers still. And it's just a waiting game at this point. Could be another. So the early maps of Toron Mine are going to be all similar. The second half of Toron Mine for this team is probably the most sketch of all the towers. I'm gonna grab the mint to get the casters rotated faster. Tsukinogi. Dusk and Todifons are very expensive. Hung is an option as well. Given that you will want to have 2 defenders, Hung is not the worst option that you can get. Tsukinogi to also have faster cycling through the early stages. There's a lot of defenders that you can get, so I've decided at this point to skip the defender. Let's clear out this lower lane. Yeah, would come up, please. And then let's start cycling units. So ideally, I would be getting my Saga. Like this. There's my Saga, just in time for the second skill usage. And we're just going to continue like this. So I'm deciding to cycle the Exu because at the minimum, within 30 seconds, I'm guaranteed to have the last sniper buff that I want for Golden Glow. So just to illustrate that, putting this down, and we've got our last sniper buff. That's all we need. This is already fully buffed, so I can go ahead and swap right into the Mudrock. And now we've basically finished the map. Gnosis is a very good option, as well as Suzerain. If ever you're in a situation like this, it's getting sketchy. Your Golden Glow's not activated. Both Gnosis and Suzerain are very good options for helping stall out and deal some damage to your wave. Of course, we got our Aya. Again, because of Golden Glow, Mudrock, and the Sculptor, we don't actually, but it's just for illustrative purposes. So if you've already fully set up your high ground, you can do swaps like Gladia into... You could leave the Gladia down. As soon as your Mudrock's back and ready, you put your other Vanguards down and get more Vanguard stacks going. So we'll go... And this is a way that you can gain defender buffs as well, even if you only have your Mudrock, but it's very expensive to replace her back down again. So, only recommended once you've already finished your high ground. As I mentioned, you didn't really need to finish the Aya, but it's just to get into the habit of it. You're going every single floor. Nice. 3. As I mentioned, getting another defender is quite nice. Pinecone's very expensive. We don't really care about specialists or medics, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the Gummy. Getting a second defender, especially for this floor, is quite nice. At this point, virtually any of these options are potentially useful. Beanstalk is quite nice, fills a similar role to Black Knight. Durin is also pretty nice, and Nian if you want more defensive power. Nian is a really nice pick, and since we already took another caster already as mint, I'm going to take the Nian. But it doesn't have to be Nian or any defender in particular. You just generally want 2 defenders for the at least for Toron Mine. We don't need this many ground units to start. I'm gonna go ahead and replace these 2, and let's get into the run right away. So you see me Golden Glow to rotate casters. There's nothing wrong with it necessarily. So I could always do something like that, rotate the caster while waiting for more snipers. Totally forgot I had mint. I placed the mint. So that's already fully buffed on top. We're getting closer on the bottom. If you're in a pinch, it's not really any harm. So if you're getting late in the run, your snipers are not cycling well, there's no issue if you just use a caster buff. You're going to give her extra attack. You're going to make it faster too. You're going to also speed up Golden Glow's recovery, or not recovery, but SP gain at the beginning. And in this specific map, I like putting Mudrock on the left. Oh, sorry, on the right. Because of the Lancers. But at this point, it doesn't particularly matter. With the defenders that we have, we're more than capable of tanking. And you can keep pressing A. And this is pretty much it. Just time to wait. There we go. Toron Mine level 1. First half pretty much done. Let's go ahead. Angelina could always use another supporter. The other options don't interest. And here, again, this is very much up to preference. We do have a lot of defenders already, but otherwise a list counter is always good. Scene is also a good option, and so is Beanstalk. I'm going to go ahead and take the Scene, because we're low on Vanguards right now. I want to just be able to cycle faster. Meanwhile, the Beanstalk would help set up the A much faster, and then you could start using the extra caster buffing and Vanguard buffing that you have, the high ground Vanguard buffing, to work on a different unit like a Gnosis, a permanent Gnosis placement. So this map can be a little bit tricky, especially if you don't get a... Especially if you don't get a... Like I said, a Vanguard early enough. And if you do end up getting your Vanguard... You might end up getting your Vanguard without getting a... Right. Without getting your Defender. And that's where things can get tricky, because this first bully comes relatively quickly. If you are cycling your units, it shouldn't be an issue. I should have rotated the Justice already. It's my mistake. So we're ready for Aya now. Aya's ready. Good to go. We've got our Nian ready to catch the back line. So in a case like that, I could have also used Ladia to rotate the Exu. And at this point, it's just more of a waiting game. But like I said, I'm not going to be using gadgets. Otherwise, the +2 to current class buff is your ideal, and then I would recommend the reassignment, which is where you can delete operators from the lineup for that specific mission. I always find that one quite useful. And then otherwise, just mix in. If you don't get either of those, which is very possible, I had one run where I didn't get either of those gadgets for all three of the buffs, all three of the gadget drops. At that point, just take the prep pull and the recoup pull. Ideally at least have one of each. At this point, it's more or less AFK. You can rotate this into Mudrock and have a 4 Vanguard Mudrock at this point. Get a lot of spin to win. So this one would be the ideal, second highest, and then after that, prep and this would be what you're looking for. The more of the buff gadget you get, the faster you can set up your high ground, and then just cycle, and then you can start making a permanent Suzerain or a permanent Gnosis with the extra buff time that you have. So the nice part about the Nian is that if you're, or the other defender, you really could just put Mudrock in the back, is that if you're in a situation where you only have one defender, you want to put your Vanguard in front, because otherwise what's going to happen is the bully's going to block in front and just get stuck on the defender while all the other guys just start walking through. This allows the bully to pass and go further in, where Golden Glow and Ko will target. Obviously, later in the run, once you're fully set up, it doesn't really matter anymore. Mudrock going off. So again, this is the prep, this is the recoup. I like these are my third picks. I would try and get one of each if I can't get the two better ones.
Mission accomplished.
So again, low ground is really nice for this. I only have 2 low ground Vanguards at this point. It would also be nice to take the Ash. This is a personal preference at this point. We have enough supporters, but otherwise Deep Color obviously you need more supporters to rotate your lineup. I'm going to take the Flametail in Toron Mine. And in this case, again, we could either be buffing casters. We have an extra caster already. We have the exact same decision making here. 3 good operators to choose from. Depends on what you need. I'd say Vanguards are covered at this point. So it will be between Jessica and the caster. I'm going to take the Jessica. This is where in Toron Mine it starts getting a bit more difficult. And where having low ground is definitely very useful. We need to get rid of this as soon as possible. It's quite alright. Now it'd be really nice to get my Mudrock or Ko here. Yeah, it's not bad. There's my Mudrock. Okay, so we've cycled. Get this out. I don't need to cycle that yet. And now, with the changes to the SSS, they don't go past 5, so you can take the opportunity to use this time to cycle more, generate more DP. It's kind of cheesy. We could be cycling the mints. They're expensive drop, but we can do it. Now we finished our Golden Glow. We've more or less finished what we needed. At this point, it would just be to get Aya back and replace the Mint with the Aya. It's really nice to get that Aya at some point. Mudrock will be fine by herself. There's the Aya. We're good to go. So there's no rhyme or reason to the Angelina. You could just use this for Gnosis, you could use this for a bunch of other things. So like I said, we're through this map. You can use this extra time, so now that we've finished our high ground, you can use this extra time to set up a new, like, permanent Gnosis and help that lane. If you find yourself getting stuck in this situation a lot, where you're not getting the units that you need to keep cycling, you might need to bump up how many supporters you have in your team. In this case, this is fine. We're good to go. Trying to clear out these defenders. So if you're finding yourself stuck, you can use Gladia to cycle one of your supporters. And Black Knight is quite useful for having the pig that can sleep, and now we've got our permanent Gnosis. It really doesn't matter if you're using Gnosis, if you're using Golden Glow, not Golden Glow, but Angelina, Gnosis, Suzerain. Any of them are generally fine if you want to use them. One thing is you might end up in a situation like this where you're just kind of waiting for Gnosis. And you could just tactically leak this guy if he's got too much health left. Now we're getting into the more difficult stages, so 6 and 7 are particularly difficult for this team. It's really dependent on how well you built your early melee teams, and if you do get your vanguards that you need, sometimes you'll get 0 vanguards, rotate, still have 0. And then it's what do you do at that point? Sari's not bad. Lionheart's very expensive. Weedy's not terrible either, and neither is Posy. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Saria, because I want to ensure that for these next 2 maps, I do have low ground that is able to tank. This is more defenders than I would normally take, given the presentation of operators that we got. They weren't necessary. It would be nice in hindsight, instead of Jessica, to have the reserve caster, but again, not a big deal, or more supporters. 8 to 9 is generally more than enough for the entire run, though. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the Mudrock. So this is one map that you can see how much damage that these guys start doing. Really. So it becomes very important to have good low ground and good DP gen. One thing that's nice about having Sayleech or Flametail is that later in the run you can put them in this block and just have extra support coming from that tile. You can also leave it open for cases like right now. So in case I didn't have the Saria, I could be using this to heal. But as you can see, very, very, very high damage from this guy. Go ahead and rotate this already. And we're still not great. The Black Knight. Rotating this out. Jessica. Got Jessica back, so now our Golden Glow is finished. We just have to wait for her to finish buffing. And for safety, oh, we have Ling out, we may as well do this. So she's a couple buffs away from being... Aya's a couple buffs away from being ready. As I mentioned, you go down. Use the skill. And now it's a great opportunity to use Gladia. Rotate that Aya, and now we're just that much closer. So once Aya's back, we're good to go. And from here you have a bunch of different things that you can do. We're going to be looking to, one, get Mudrock back. And then here you can use Suzerain. Quite free. To just get extra slow. So if it's looking bad, you don't have Mudrock out, or Mudrock's about to die, you can use Suzerain, slow this down. You can always retreat to Say Leech if her skill is down and utilize the Sculptor buff. But in general, you should be good to go from this point on. Aya will be more than happy to take care of business for you. One enemy left. So, that was quite clean. And now we're moving into the hardest level of this map, of this tower. LT7. I don't like any of these options. If I didn't have Gladia, Snowsin would be a really nice option. You don't have to take Gladia at the beginning. Again, you can just hope to pick up, let's say, a Weedy, a Snowsin, a Gladia, a Cliffheart, any of those, and it would fill the same purpose. It's just like Gladia is more of a backup, and it's very, very optional. So you could have slotted in another unit into your run. You could slot in a Molinar. I'm going to take the Nightmare for now. And again, we're in a similar case. I'll take the Courier. None of these are particularly enticing for me. Indigo is also a possibility if you need more casters. In this case, I think we're generally quite balanced on the squad for what I would like to see. So, LT7 is very much a rush. There's a few different placement options that you can use. And you want to definitely make sure that you have some options available. So one of the options is that you set up your Golden Glow here. Other options, set up Golden Glow here or here. So you have three different options that are all fairly workable. And you're going to be setting up your melees depending on where you want to place them. You would set up your melees here and here if you're setting up on the bottom, and on the otherwise in either of these two spots, you're going to probably set up here and here. So it depends on what you want to do. I'll set up in the middle this time. I haven't tried it recently, and I do have quite a few snipers already, so we might be able to get an early Golden Glow going. So let's go ahead and start. The main issue is that before Golden Glow procs, you're going to be stuck in this situation where this tile at the top of Courier is not going to be accessible to Golden Glow. So you can go ahead and try and block this off a little bit at the beginning. And also use units to help support that at the top. As you can see, it's not very nice, not very pretty. I don't want to lose that position, so I'm gonna go ahead and place the Nian down. So this early rush is generally the difficult part of the stage. Once you get your Golden Glow and others set up, it should be quite a bit easier. I'm still trying to rotate for one more sniper, which I'm not getting. Even though I have a bunch on my team, finally we got it. And now we can go ahead and start setting up our Golden Glow. But this is why Suzerain is so good. She has no buffs on. She's still going to be gaining her ult back so fast. Very, very useful unit as a whole. So I see that Lancer coming in. I'm going to go ahead and set up my Mudrock. There we go. And that's working out quite nicely already. Mudrock should be fine for the end of the run. I'm going to wait for either my Black Knight, or I can always rotate with Gladia, but Mint is quite expensive, so... And we're not in a rush right now. There's a Black Knight. Now we can go ahead and set up our AO, and we're pretty much set up for the rest of the run. We're going to be changing out Flametail. We already have the Saria, so this is sufficient. We don't really have to do much else at this point. So you can always go ahead and try and set up a permanent Gnosis or permanent Suzerain. Another option is to do Suzerain from the bottom here as well, as you'll be in reach to defend both. And also, if they do get past Mudrock or Saria, it helps to slow them down, where Aya can get some range up to this tile, and Golden Glow will have some range up until this tile. Nothing too impressive. And we have a permanent Gnosis. I feel confident about that top lane at this point. I don't think anything's going to be getting through that. The other option is that on the bottom left, you can always be using a Sculptor as well, as that will help the Golden Glow as well as heal up the bottom. So if you don't have a healing defender for the Saria's position, you can always go ahead and use that. At this point, we're pretty much good to go. It's the last enemy. And there we go, we finished level 7. And we're on to level 8. Here we go, the boss. The boss is quite simple. You will want to set up a nice strong ground setup. So you're going to be using a 3 ground, 3 high. There's only 3 high ground tiles anyway, so you don't have a choice. And being able to rotate fast is quite nice for this. I'm going to take the Spectre. I don't normally take guards. The other options here would be Deep Color. I'm not going to bother with the Cal, so either of these are good options for this run. Deep Color for faster cycling, and Spectre for getting a stronger ground buff. And that's going to be nice for Toron, so that you're going to see that I'm going to try the rock formation on the 3rd melee operator, so it'll become more clear in a second. I don't need any of these at the beginning. And we're going to set up the Sculptor here. So Sculptor's just going to chill for the rest of the run and heal up my middle position, which is going to be Golden Glow. So the Saga position is where I'm going to be setting up my Mudrock. Say Leech is going to be setting up for the bait. So remember I took Spectre, which just happened to come in. And then this is going to be my 2nd melee operator. The Spectre is going to be in the back. After rotating a few Vanguard and Spectre buffs, or Vanguard and Guard buffs, hopefully we can get that to bait. Go ahead and place a Nian if we're struggling on this lane already. I put her skill 3 on, that's a bit of a mistake. Oh well. I don't think it matters too much. Our Golden Glow's already ready to go. And now we just rotate mid. We're almost finished cycling our high ground. I'm gonna leave Suzerain out until I get my Aya back. We can go ahead and start working on defender buffs. So Aya's ready to go at this point. And I would like one more Vanguard buff after Courier before I get my Mudrock down. At this point, it's just a waiting game to get enough points, because we have no more supporters to cycle. And Aya will probably be targeted with the rock debuff for now. But it shouldn't be much of an issue. There it is. So this is going to be quite straightforward for the time being. If I have to, I will replace the courier. Unfortunately, it looks like I do not have a choice here. I will have to place. Sorry, I don't. This is where your balance of high to low ground will matter a lot. I just still don't even have my mud rock. She's in the queue. Not that it matters all that. The boss is going to die on the next round. Our A is going to be able to handle any weebs or weebs that show up. This is probably the ideal, especially if you can get the mud rock out. If you do happen to kill the boss, you can always drop the altar at this point already. One day we'll get her. So we got Sora. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate the Sculptor. I don't necessarily want that. Be quite nice to get. Mud rock, which I just got. Boss is already dead. Now, I could have left Salit where the Saga is, and the benefit of that would be to... I almost want to just tactically loot this guy. The benefit of that would be that you're going to be able to stun and debuff the enemy where you want it. This kill was a lot faster than I normally experience, just because the Golden Glow was finished so quickly. So normally you would have to wait one more rotation before you're able to kill the boss. And it would just, everything else should already be dead at that point. So, a perfect run. And I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Don't forget, hit that like button and subscribe. And as always, have a nice day.